Hello, and welcome back to my channel, Danny, not a crocodile. Oh, I'm sorry, I don't know what that was. Obviously that wasn't a crocodile because I am a human. But today I'm going to talk about like my top 10 favorite books from this year. They are in no particular order, it's just like in general my top 10 books from 2022. Before we get into the books, let's go ahead and review my stats from Storygraph for this year. My original goal was 45 books. I only ended up reading 33. I've got like one more book I'm reading, but I don't think I'm gonna finish it in like before the year is over. I read a total of 9,259 pages. My let's go top 3 like moods, adventurous, lighthearted, and emotional. I think a lot more variety than last year. As always, I read a lot more medium-paced books than anything else. That's my vibe. I don't like slow-paced books that much. Like, I give up. If it's too slow, I'm gonna give up. And no surprise, majority of under 300-page books is actually 3/4 fiction books and 1/4 non-fiction books. Genres. A majority of romance, and that's probably because of the manga, because I read quite a few romance manga. And then, young adult isn't a genre. I would not count that as a genre. That's a category. Fantasy, no surprise. Oh, and we got LGBTQIA up here too. Again, manga is not a genre. That's just a category of type of book. So those were my top genres. Most read authors, yeah, no surprise. It's Alice Oseman and Kintetsu Yamada, the author of Sweat and Soap, because I read multiples of those. So that makes sense. No surprise that my peak in reading was during the summer, and that these last few months of the semester there was nothing because I was so busy. My average rating was a 3.68 stars. I don't know how helpful that is, but I love looking at stats. They are so much fun. I love my little pie graphs, my little bar charts. It's fantastic. I can also start with some of my favorite graphic novels this year. And it's like, honestly, series in general, because I don't like to choose like a specific one out of the series when it comes to these. Like, it's just like the overall thing. So first one is Sweat and Soap by Kintetsu Yamada. I've only read up to, what is that? Volume 4. I've only read up to volume 4, but I love this. So it's about this girl, mainly, and this guy, and they both work at a scent company in Japan. She works pretty much, I think it was like in finances, but he's like the dude there. He is the idea man, and like he's always looking for really fun scents. And he ends up really into like her scent, and she's like has problems with how she smells. Like, she doesn't like it, and she feels like she sweats a lot, etc., and is super insecure. But he really likes how she smells, and it is the weirdest concept ever, but it's actually super sweet, and overall so far it's actually been like a really healthy relationship, and I love it so much, and I recommend it to everyone. It is, I guess I'd rate it like YA sort of level. There's a little bit spicy, but like it's censored, and it's not like that spicy, but like it's definitely there. Yeah, I would give it a YA rating for like recommendations wise. But yes, I love this, and I cannot wait to get a hold of the rest of the volumes. And then the other graphic novel series that I absolutely fell in love with this year was Heartstopper. I don't actually have any of like the novels on me. I just have this one and then the coloring book that came out this year. But yes, absolutely love Heartstopper. I almost say it wrong. I don't know who would not know what Heartstopper is about, but honestly, the comics wise, it's mainly about Nick Nelson and Charlie. I cannot remember the last name right now, but it's about them, and they go to an all-boys school. Well, they go to school together in, I don't know, Britain somewhere. Charlie is out. Nick was not out in the beginning, but they end up falling in love, and it's just super sweet, super adorable, super cute. But it also eventually does go into like some harder topics with Charlie's eating disorder and other things that happens in their life, and also goes into like Nick's issues and like biphobia and stuff. And I love the series. I love it so much. I recommend it a lot, and of course the show actually talks about and goes more into depth with the friends and their development, because in the novels, honestly, the friends, there's not much there. They're like barely there in the novels, but TV show, like the friends actually like have substance. Like there's some actual character development for them. Yes, Heartstopper is a must read. We'll go into kind of graphic novel adjacent, or like stuff that's like known as light novels and stuff, or just I guess has a cartoony cover. Another absolute favorite from this year was The Long, Long Goodbye of the Last Bookstore by Mizuki Nomura. Yes, it's another book about books. The owner of the bookstore has just died and there's no one to take it over and it's gonna end up closing. But this other guy ends up showing up that none of the employees know, but he says like the bookstore was left to him, or he knew the guy really well, and they're gonna kind of go out with a bang and like sell off all the books. But it turns out this guy can also like talk to books. Through talking to books, he's able to help bring various customers and people who have been to this bookstore for years some closure over what's happening and like the bookstore closing. And yes, I did cry. The whole book, like indie or like local bookstores, is unfortunately like a big thing that's happening right now with sort of big bookstores being an issue, like Amazon, etc., like pushing out local bookstores, and possibly even like Barnes and Nobles, which we all used to hate and think of as like the big bookstore at the time. But yes, I really love this. It's nice and short, so it's not going to take you a long time, but like it's really sweet and I loved it so much. And then we have volume 1 of Heaven Official's Blessing. I always say this title wrong. I always put the S in the wrong place. It's by, and I know I'm probably going to say this wrong, I have tried so many times to like find something to help me say these, but you never quite get the answer. Mo Jiang Tongju, and from what I understand, like this has been out for ages before it was finally published into like physical book form. So this is about Jie Lian, who's ascended to godhood and fallen from godhood a few different times, and he's just done it again. They don't really like him all that much, so to repay like his debts that he owes to people and stuff, he gets sent back down to the mortal realm to chase after ghosts and stuff. And while doing that, he runs into San Long, another young man who helps him with something, but he also runs into this guy that has like butterflies or something associated with him, and they're possibly the same person and also possibly like an evil dude or something, but it's boys love. That is what it is. But it's a very, very slow burn boys love, because I wanted to throw this goddamn book across the room when I finished, because it's just like, they don't eat. It is slow burn. It is such a slow burn, and I was very frustrated at the end because I was like, I have to go get another freaking book to get some satisfaction. It's really good. I love this so much. I'm disappointed in myself not picking, like I bought the second volume, I just have not had time to read it, and like I really want to read it because this is so good. Like this is good fan fiction level of like a story, and I need to have something happen because we were getting so close and then nothing happened, and I wanted to throw this book across the room. But yes, read this, please. Their writing is fantastic. Let's continue with more Asian writers, I guess. Another one that I absolutely loved this year was The Cat Who Saved Books by Sosuke Natsukawa, another book about books. So this is about a high school student who inherited a bookshop from his grandfather, and he's gonna have to close it, but he's really sad about that. And before the doors close, this talking cat shows up. Of course he thinks he's going insane at first, but this cat urges him to help him in saving books. So this cat takes him on various adventures to save books, and also honestly to help save the high school student. And it's just very fun. It gives me major like Whisper of the Heart vibes from Studio Ghibli. And again, another short book. I read quite a few like just little short books this year because honestly I just didn't have time to deal with too much that were like thick books. I did another 18 units this semester, and that 18 units actually felt like 18 units this time. I was very busy. I really enjoyed this book, and I had so much fun reading it, and it went by really quickly, which I did enjoy this time. And another cat book by an Asian author was The Traveling Cat Chronicles by Hiro Arikawa. This one is about, well, it's mainly from the perspective of the cat who is being taken around to these different places by his owner, because his owner isn't going to be able to take care of him anymore. It is as sad as you would think that is about. Like, it's as sad as you think. I, of course, enjoyed reading it. I was sobbing by the end, but I did enjoy reading it. I just loved how through these, like, going to these different houses, they were also able to help all these people with, like, their own little issues before, like, arriving at our depressing, sad end. But, you know, as sad as this was, they were able to help, like, all these different people with their own little issues. And, like, I don't really want to talk super much about it. It's such a good book, and you should just go read it for yourself. I also really enjoyed A Year in Tokyo, an illustrated guide and memoir of 13 magical months spent exploring the city of ginkgo leaves by Christy Ann Jones. This is a self-published one by the booktuber Christy Ann Jones. I originally bought, like, the online PDF version and then also immediately bought it when she physically published it because I really loved this. I loved how honest she was about everything that was happening during those 13 months. I love her little illustrations and, like, how this is all set up. I think it's so cute and adorable. I am going to be studying abroad starting around March or so. So I'll be in Japan for 6 months, and I kind of want to do something similar. I don't know if I'll actually do it because that requires me to, like, journal and, like, take note of things actively, which is something I'm not very good at, but we will see and we will try because I really enjoyed this. This gave me so many ideas. This just seems like a great thing to do. Now that we've gotten through graphic novels and Asian authors and just related to Asia in general, let's get to Star Wars because, of course, I've got some Star Wars books on this list. Let's start with the first one I read this year, and that is The Fallen Star by Claudia Gray, the final adult book in the High Republic Phase 1. This, of course, isn't, like, my favorite of the Star Wars books, or even the like, all the High Republic books, because I've got another High Republic on this, and it is because it's written by Claudia Gray, and I just don't mesh with her stuff all that much, but this still made it onto the favorites list of this year because I still did have, like, a really good time reading this book, and it did make me cry in the end, though it didn't make me sob like Traveling Cat Chronicles did. But I still definitely cried, and I still want to know if some of my characters are okay, because it was left kind of vague, and I would like to know. But I'm gonna repeat it again. Get into the High Republic if you haven't got into it yet, because it is so good. And you don't even have to, like, read all of them. This is like a series or like a time, an era in Star Wars where you can just kind of pick and choose what you're going to read. Because you don't have to know everything, but I want to know everything. Now, my all-time favorite book from Phase 1 is Midnight Horizon by Daniel Jose Older. I love this book so much. I love the continued gay Jedi gap year. Love that from this. It's got my favorite characters, Ram and Reath. I love them so much, and they go through so much growth in this, and it's just, everything is so perfect about this. It has everything you could want. You've got essentially, like, early 1900s industrial era, like, Carnegie type Corellia in this. The founding fathers or whatever they're called is, like, that's the vibe I'm getting from them, is Carnegie, Stanford, etc. on Corellia, but, you know, in space on Corellia where they build ships and stuff. Everything is perfect about this, and it is wizard, as Ram would say, because he is an influencer. He has influenced me. And then I also read Padawan by Kirsten White, and that was another 5-star read. Obi-Wan might be my new favorite, or at least this, you know, little piece of Obi-Wan is my favorite, because I too have way too much anxiety, just like Obi-Wan does, and worried about literally all the same things he did at that age, but, you know, non-space, non-Jedi version of it. But yeah, I love this. I love this little exploration into little Padawan Obi-Wan and his anxieties about everything. I will fight Qui-Gon. I absolutely will. I will fight that man. I have beef with him over his treatment of Obi-Wan. So those were my top 10 books of 2022. Let me know, like, a couple of your favorite books this year. It doesn't have to be like a whole 10 list, but, you know, leave a comment down below, like, of a couple of favorites of yours, if you match any favorites with me. Don't forget to follow all my socials, because I got stuff going on there. And like this video if you did enjoy it, and subscribe if you want to see more. Like I mentioned earlier, I am going to be studying abroad this next semester, though it starts later because Japanese semester starts later. But I'm hoping to like do more during that time to help me document stuff. You know, hopefully I'll come up with some stuff, and because the semester starts later, I don't have school for a few months, so you know, maybe I can have time to make videos. So that's it, and see you next year. Bang bang bang.